All right, you guys, we are going into our 6th year of homeschooling, and today I'm going to be sharing all of the mistakes that I have made as a homeschool mom. This is a collaboration hosted by myself and Devine over at Calm in the Chaos Homeschool, so I'm going to drop the playlist down below in the description bar. Make sure that you go check it out when you are done with this video. Go see what all of the other moms are saying some of their mistakes or regrets have been. This is a little bit of a challenging video because who wants to put all of their mistakes out on the internet for the world to see? But hopefully this will help some of you who are veteran homeschool moms just to know that you're not alone. And maybe for some of you newer homeschooling moms, you can try to avoid some of our pitfalls. So be nice in the comments. So jumping into it, the first mistake that I have made is I don't feel like I have done a very good job incorporating my toddler into our homeschool for the last 2 or 3 years. It is rough, you guys, to have a baby and a toddler, and then on top of it have multiple big kids that you're trying to juggle everybody's wants and needs, and helping with one kid with math and then another kid with language arts, and then trying to nurse the baby, and where does the toddler fit into all of this? And so that has been something that has been so very challenging to me. And thank God, you guys, for the big kids, because they swoop in and they help read him books and play with him. So I know that not everything is on me, and that I probably am putting too much guilt on myself for feeling like I haven't worked him in enough. But it's still just one of those things. I think moms are kind of programmed to actively search for things that we are not measuring up to and doing right, and all of these high standards that we hold ourselves to. But that has been one of my mistakes, is I don't feel like he has been as incorporated into our days as he probably should have been. Last year I depended heavily on movies, like, here, go watch a movie, let us just finish our lessons, and then we'll play and we'll do whatever you want. And this year, luckily, we had moved, and when we moved, me and my husband decided that we would not be putting our TV back up. That way it could not be a crutch for either of us to use, and it would force us to just hang out more as a family and not just be on electronics all day, and talk and go outside and walk and go to the park more, and just kind of encourage us to get our heinies up and out of the house. And that has been so helpful. And so I feel like this year I've done way better at incorporating him into our days. But last year and the year before, there was a lot of movies, and to some degree I feel very deep regrets about that. But I'm not gonna sit there and stew in it. I can't change the past. All I can do is change what we do going forward. But I would be remiss to say if I didn't have some type of guilt or regret about just kind of leaning into movies and TV shows too much in the previous years, when trying to figure out, how do I blend him in, because he's not old enough to really do a lot of the work that we do. And let's be honest, he's really not even interested. We could read history or science or talk about math, and he's gonna just gloss over and I don't care about any of this. I just want to go play Batman. So yeah, I don't know what I could have done better. But I don't feel like just relying completely on movies the way that I previously did was necessarily the right answer. Now, don't get me wrong. I did try to do the whole okay, you go play outside while we work. But our backyard at our last house was awful. We had all of these ground moles. And so there were huge holes in our backyard. And I was always scared that he would be running and fall and twist his ankle in one of these holes. So it wasn't necessarily the best house. I could do that now, but now we just have hornets. So it feels like sometimes nature is too naturey. And I'm just going to leave that at that. I have my list, so I might occasionally look down. So my second regret or mistake in that I have made in homeschooling is starting too soon. So our first year that we started, my now 11-year-old, he was in towards the end of first grade, going into second grade. And my daughter was 4. And so I had the homeschooling bug. I was like, cool, this is new. I'm excited. We're gonna teach all the things. And I was so excited to start teaching her because my older 2 had started preschool around like 4 or 5. So we just kind of jumped into things with her. And man, how little did I know? I feel like it would have been so much better to just wait with her, to focus on all of the second grade work with my son and to just be with her and play and sing silly songs and, teach her some nursery rhymes and not put such an emphasis on let's teach you your numbers and your letters and let's, start your ABCs and, coloring and shapes and all of that. I don't think it was necessarily a bad thing, but at the time that we started, she wasn't ready for the pace that I was going. And so luckily I picked up on that after the first couple of months, and we scaled way back. But I really wish that I had just waited with her and enjoyed that time. So luckily I have changed things with my now 4-year-old, and we're going just at a snail's pace. It's just going to be fun and play-based and a little bit of learning, but it's really going to be dependent on how receptive he is to that. And if he's not very receptive, then I'm just going to pack it away and try it again in a month or 2 and not put so much pressure on myself to be the perfect homeschooling parent. And my 5-year-old's been reading for 2 years. And some of those parents that say like nonsense things like that, I think it can be really hard when you get into the world of homeschooling and you meet all of these other moms and some of their children are very gifted, or they're just ahead because they just took a natural inclination to reading or writing or math, and you start to compare yourself, and then you feel like you're failing your kid, and you feel like they're not doing enough because you're not doing enough, and it can just be this spiral effect. And so that leads me into my third mistake. Don't compare yourself to anybody. I think for the most part, I've done a pretty good job of not getting involved in the comparison game when it comes to homeschooling. But there are times where it happens, and I think that happens for anybody, just depending on maybe some of the co-ops that you join or the homeschool friends that you make. I think it's just this natural thing that can happen sometimes where you start to compare and you're like, oh, well, they're using this curriculum and they say it really works and maybe I should try it, and all of the things. So while it's not a common mistake that I have made, it is one that I have occasionally made. And, if you've never done it, then that's so wonderful for you. But for those of us who have gotten caught in the occasional comparison game, I think I can speak for everybody where I say that is not a fun place to be. And just don't do it to yourself. If things are working in your homeschool, just allow it to work. And don't worry about what Susie or Johnny or Kimmy or whoever else at co-op is, saying and doing and what they're using and all of the things. And this leads me to my next point. If a curriculum is working, don't change it. Don't fix what's not broken. I did this with master books, and I've recently have been speaking a lot about it. So if you guys have heard me say it, I'm sorry. But for those of you who are new here, my son used master books for second grade and third grade. And towards the end of third grade, I was getting bored with it. He was still fine with it. He still wanted to use it. He was happy and thriving. And I was, watching YouTube videos and getting sucked into the Good and the Beautiful train. And I was just getting kind of bored with the repetition of master books. And I'm like, I want to shake things up and I'm going to change our curriculum. And he's like, do we have to? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. It looks fun. It looks colorful. I think you'll enjoy it. And to some degree, we did enjoy it that year, but I definitely wish that we had not necessarily changed all of it. And that's not saying that The Good and the Beautiful is horrible, and it's not saying that Master Books is right for everybody. I'm just saying that Master Books was truly working for us, and there was no reason that I should have changed it. And so I wish I would have just stayed with it and stayed consistent. However, though, the bright point to leaving Master Books for a short period was that we found some curriculums that we truly did love because The Good and the Beautiful didn't work out. And so I'm so very thankful for that, for finding those curriculums. Like, we love Beautiful Feet books and we love IEW, and had we not left Master Books, we wouldn't have never found those. But to some degree, I wish I had never left Master Books. So take note, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Okay, you'll just break it. All right, so my next one is don't take yourself too seriously. I know that this is such serious business. I mean, we are called to be good stewards of our children and their education, and taking on homeschooling as a mom is such a blessing, but it's also such a nerve-wracking job sometimes, especially if your child is struggling with a certain subject, or you don't want to teach a certain subject, or just all of the very many hats that we wear. It can be so life-giving but also so draining. And so, coming from somebody who is very type A and does tend to take things a little too seriously sometimes, I have found in the 5 years that we have been homeschooling that it's so much better when you just kind of let loose and maybe be a little type B. And that is so hard for me to say, but I feel like, learning how to go with the flow is such an important aspect of homeschooling, because you never know how your year is going to go. The last couple of years, I was so gung-ho at the beginning of the school year, and I had all of these curriculum hopes and dreams and plans, and half of them went in the dumpster fire that is life. And so I think if you just choose to not take yourself too seriously, and you choose to just go with the flow, that makes your life a million times easier in the grand scheme of things. And remembering that homeschooling is a marathon and not a sprint has really helped me. But, there are days where you have your lows, where you just feel like you're failing yourself, you're failing your kids, you're failing as a homeschooler, you're failing as a teacher, you just suck at everything. And so in those moments, it really helps to remind yourself that this is a long-term thing. You're not just, doing a short stint. I mean, unless your child is graduating this year and you're just jumping into homeschooling. But if your kids are little and you plan on homeschooling until they graduate high school, this is a marathon. This is something that's going to have ebbs and flows, and good years and bad years, and hard times and good times. And it just helps if you choose to not take yourself too seriously for every little thing. And I think one of the last mistakes that I have made, and it's a tip that I learned in the very beginning of homeschooling, and I think I've taken it to heart a lot, but there have been times where I have needed to be reminded of it. So hopefully this reminder will help you. When the tears start, stop. That has been one of my mistakes, is that I have not always listened to that advice. Homeschooling is very sanctifying in certain ways, and there are certain days that are just hard, where everybody either wakes up grumpy, or you're just having a bad day. And sometimes you just need that gentle reminder that, when you're crying or the kids are crying, you should just stop. You can hit pause and come back later, or come back tomorrow, or, whenever you need to come back. But I have not always remembered that in the moment. And so I'm not saying I'm a monster, okay? So before anybody jumps in the comments and being rude, I'm just saying that I'm not perfect, that I have my grouchy moments, and that sometimes I choose to just power through when the tears are going, and that's really when I should remember to just back off and pause and come back. So those are all of my mistakes. All right, you guys, I was editing and I realized that I forgot one of my mistakes and I felt like it was important enough to add in. So I decided to hop back on here and get it added. Somewhere along the way, I forgot about myself. So don't make that mistake. You know, if you really like fitness or you have certain hobbies, don't let that go to the wayside just because homeschooling is a beast and it just takes on this life of its own. And sometimes it can just dominate your life. And as much as I love it and as much as, you know, we have sacrificed for it and given things up for it, don't let yourself be one of those things. I love working out. I love being fit and healthy, and watching my parents be so very unhealthy and lose their lives early in life gave me a genuine appreciation for taking care of your body and just meeting certain goals. And a few years ago, I was doing so well with staying on track and accomplishing the things that I wanted to do. And then the school year started back up, and over the course of that year, there just became, you know, less and less time to do the things that I truly enjoyed. And now I'm starting to find those bits and pieces again and make that more of a priority that I'm working into our day and framing our homeschool around, instead of trying to find those little gaps of time that I can work into things for myself. But that has been a mistake that I have made, is, you know, losing bits and pieces of myself to homeschooling. And I think that is so easy to do as a mom in general, but even more so as a homeschooling mom, because like I said, this thing just takes on a life of its own sometimes, and it can very easily dominate your entire life if you let it. And so that is my last mistake. I'll go back to the regular video now. All right, and the last thing that I want to mention is not necessarily a mistake that I've made, but something that I feel like I have actually done pretty good at. We have added two babies to our family since we started homeschooling, and each time we've done it, I have taken an entire month off of homeschooling. It doesn't matter where we're at in the year. Yeah, we tried to power through up until my due date, but the minute the baby came, I took that whole month off because we needed to get adjusted to a whole new person. The siblings needed to, you know, form their bonds. I needed to recover and, you know, just learn how to do all the things with a whole new person. And so I see so many moms in homeschool groups talking about, you know, what do they do when a brand new baby comes? And I just want to say, give yourself grace. So whether you just had a baby or you're currently expecting or you're planning for a baby in the future, take that time off. It is okay to give yourself grace. If you just brought a whole person into the world and into your family, it is okay to take that time off, even if it's just for your body to heal and for you to have that precious time with your infant that you won't get back. So I just wanted to mention that. I don't know why. It felt, you know, put on my heart. So hopefully that will help somebody. So that is it. That is all my mistakes, at least the mistakes that I'm going to talk about here on YouTube. So make sure that you check out the playlist when you are done with this video. Let me know some of the mistakes that you have made down below in the comments, or if any of the mistakes that I mentioned resonated with some of the things that you have done as well. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up, hit that red subscribe button, and I will see you again later. Bye.